All right, let's get practicing in QuickBooks Online. Grab the link below so that you can follow along. Today we're going to be walking through an exercise from the QBO Gym. The QBO Gym is a practice set of exercises that simulates life as a bookkeeper. So every month you get a set of exercises. They're kind of grouped into these 4 categories that allow you to actually simulate what it's like to be a bookkeeper for our fictitious business owner, Craig. So today we're going to be walking through an exercise from the warm-up section of for February 2023. In the exercise, or in the section, we start with a little video that talks about what happened to Craig this month, and then after the video there is a little quiz about what was in the video, and then here are all of the exercises. So we are working on this last exercise in the warm-up section, which is practicing processing Craig's bank feeds. So we're going to click on that, and we will start in the sample company. All of our exercises are practiced in the sample company, and if you don't know how to access the sample company, if you don't know how to get your free QuickBooks Online Accountant account, then of course click the links below. And here is our scenario. After you have input all the sales and expense transactions, it's time to process bank feeds. This means comparing what went into and out of the bank and making sure there is a correct record of it in QBO. Okay, so let's take a look. From the left nav bar, we're going to select Banking and then click Banking. Okay, so here I am in my sample company. On the left navigation bar, we're going to select Banking and then Banking. Going back to our exercise, step 2. In a real-life scenario, you would want to double-check to make sure that what QBO thinks is a match is actually matched correctly to QBO transactions. Since you are the one that entered the transactions in the first place, you can usually do this fairly easily with a quick glance. For this exercise, we're going to assume that the matches are correct. Okay, so we're going to click the All Transactions drop-down and select Matched. Of course, we have some pop-ups in the sample company that we have to close. All right, so right here, let me just scroll up a little bit. We're going to click right here, and we're going to look. We want to look at just the ones that are matched. These are the ones that QuickBooks Online looked at what came across in the bank feed, and it says, oh yes, it matched these things in QuickBooks Online. Okay. So going back to our exercise, step 3. There are a couple of transactions that have multiple matches. Let's address those first. Scroll to and then click the Pam Sites transaction. Okay, note that the transaction date will vary as the sample company is always adjusting. Okay, so in our picture here, it's from January, but today is April, and so who knows what day it is when you're actually doing it, but the dates are always changing. Don't worry about that. So here is our Pam Sites transaction. We're going to click on that, and then we're going to go back to our exercise. Step 4. When attempting to match, QBO only searches by amount. When you look at the options, however, you can see that the bank description matches the expense recorded for Pam Sites. Okay, so let's look at this. So with our eyeballs, QuickBooks Online is only so smart, so we need to use our eyeballs to see that this expense right here, this is what's in QuickBooks Online, says Pam Sites, and this is what came from the bank, and that is also Pam Sites. So we know that those two are a match. That's the one that's selected, so we're going to go ahead and click Match. Okay. Steps 5 and 6, now we're going to deal with the squeaky clean car wash transaction. Note that there are 2 transactions, but with different types and transaction dates. Select the one that matches the date of the bank feed. It should already be selected, and click Match. Okay, let's look at that again. Okay, so now we're going to scroll to, here is the squeaky clean car wash. It says 2 matches found. If I click that, just like with Pam Sites, now though, they're the same. They're both squeaky clean, so now we have to go by the dates. This is 3/20, This is 320. So this is the one we're going to use. Okay. So now we're going to click match. And we'll go back to our exercise. Note that if this were a real situation, you would want to investigate the other transaction later. Why are there two transactions in there for a squeaky clean car wash? One of them says it's a cash expense. What's the deal with that? Okay, so that's a topic for another time. We're not going to be dealing with that in this exercise. Okay, so step 7. Now that you only have single matches left in the list, you can accept the matches in batch. Click the checkbox at the top of the column to select all of the transactions. Okay, so we want to select all the transactions currently in the list. We're still filtered by matched. I'm going to click this button at the top of the column. Now we've got all of those. Okay, going back to our exercise, in the black bar that appears, we're going to click accept. Say, yep, these are all matches. We want them all done. Okay, now going back to our exercise, step 9, there are no more matched transactions in the list, so clear the filter by clicking matched X. Okay, so let's see. So here's the filter. It says matched, and we can click that or click the X, and then that will remove that filter. Okay, all right, so step 10. The transactions from Books by Bessie and A Rental require some investigation, so you will leave them for now and ask Craig about them later. However, the Hicks hardware transaction is a problem. You could swear that you entered that already. Why isn't it matching? So we just together in a couple exercises ago, we entered that transaction. And if you're still in the same sample of the sample or same session of the sample company, it should be there. Why isn't it there? Okay. So if you have not entered the Hicks hardware expense from the previous exercise in the same session of the sample company, be sure to do so now, or at least review it so you know what we're talking about. Okay. So step 10, we're going to click the Hicks hardware transaction, then select find match. Okay, so here is the Hicks hardware transaction. I'm going to click it, scroll up so you can see it, and we're going to click find match. Okay, all right, step 11. In the resulting list, there is one transaction that has a similar amount but is off by 2 cents. Okay, let's see. Okay, here's Hicks Hardware. This says $24.36, but this says $24.38. This is what the bank feed is. This is what's in QuickBooks Online. Okay, so there's 2 cents difference. You'll notice, let's see, it's off by 2 cents. You also notice that you entered the transaction today, but the date range QBO is looking for doesn't include transactions from today. Okay, so I am doing this on April 18th. Notice this range is only up through March 14th. Of course, your dates are going to be different, but you'll notice that this is not today for you. Okay. How do you know which one is correct? Oh, let's see. Sorry, go back. Okay. At this point, you have 2 choices. Maybe the amount of the previous transaction was keyed in incorrectly and you need to fix it. Okay. So here, this again, this is the transaction that's already in QuickBooks Online, and maybe this just was keyed in incorrectly. Okay. Or maybe you just need to expand the date range to include today. Okay, so I could change this date to include today, and then it would match the one that I did today potentially. Okay, how do you know which is correct? Let's take another look at the transaction in the bank feed. Click cancel or X to close the window. Okay, so I can click cancel down here, or I can click the X. Okay, I'm going to click the X. Step 12. Notice that the date of the bank feed transaction is much older and the same as the date of the transaction with the incorrect amount. It is highly likely that this is the correct transaction and that you or someone else just made a mistake when entering it. Okay, so let me say that again. It's unlikely that the expense that you just entered today is already in the bank feed. Okay, it happens, but it's more likely that the bank feed transaction is going to match an older QBO transaction. Okay, you'll need to change it, but remember the bank transaction is always correct and can't be changed. So you're not changing the amount in the bank feed transaction, you're changing the amount in the QuickBooks Online transaction. If there is a discrepancy, you'll always change it in QBO. Okay, so first you're going to locate the incorrect transaction. Okay, so let's go to, from the left nav bar, click Expenses, then select Vendors. Okay, all right, from the left nav bar, select Expenses and then Vendors. Okay, step 13, scroll to find, then click Hicks Hardware. Okay, we're going to scroll until we find, and then there's Hicks Hardware. And we're going to click Hicks Hardware right there. Step 14, at the top of the list is the expense you entered today. Further down the list, you'll find the transaction that needs to be changed. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so here's the list. It's in date order, so the one that you just entered today is right here at the top. Okay, 2438. If you scroll down a little bit, here's the one from before that has the wrong amount, 2436. Okay, let's go back here. Top further down the list, notice, okay, remember the dates are going to be always different. Click the second Hicks Hardware transaction. Okay, so we want to select this one that is 2436. Okay, step 15, change the amount to 2438, then click Save and Close. Okay, remember the bank is always right. So the bank said it was 2438, and so I must have keyed it in wrong when I created this transaction before. Okay, so I'm going to hit 2438, then click Save and Close. Going back to my exercise, step 16. Now return to the Banking Center. From the left nav bar, select Banking and click Banking. Banking and Banking. Okay, and if we scroll down, we'll notice that Hicks Hardware is now matching. Okay, so step 17. Notice that Hicks Hardware transaction is now matching. Click Match and you're done with bank feeds for today. Okay, so we're going to click Match. And that's all we're going to do for bank feed transactions for this exercise. And that's it for the warm-up section for the February issue of the QBO Gym. Again, if you would like more information about the gym, it's down below, and you can get a free 7-day trial to practice these exercises on your own. And I will see you next in the cardio section of the February QBO Gym. See you there.